This is the story of the time-traveling dad. He died in 1997 after buying his son a 2012 Mustang and then being killed by the rake. My name is Matthew, but most people simply refer to me as the time-traveling dad. It's quite a long story. You see, I'm a dad, but I also time travel. I'm sorry if that was confusing. It all started when I went to a spooky hotel on Halloween. I was on vacation, and I had rented a room in the hotel in the small town of Dread. My room was 13, and I would be staying for one night. When I drove to the top of a hill in the middle of a dark, secluded forest built next to an ancient Indian burial ground, the hotel was right in view. It was old looking and cast a gloomy gloom that shrouded the area. Very gloomy. I pulled into the seemingly empty parking lot and opened my car door. I went around to my trunk and opened it and pulled out my suitcase and gun that I called Peacemaker. Suddenly, I heard a noise. It was a scary noise. Looking out into the darkness, I could see a source of a lit, dim streetlight. I saw a tall figure that looked like a man, but was very skinny. A synonym for that would be slender. The figure approached me. I just stood there and waited. I waited to see what the person would do. Suddenly it became apparent that it was no ordinary person. He, she, it was not walking, but instead just appearing. I was starting to get freaking scared, so I quickly picked up my stuff and ran for it. I ran straight through the entrance of the hotel and kept running until I noticed something. It was completely silent. No one was in the hotel at all. I noticed a small key sitting on the desk in the main lobby. It said room 13, and it looked like a regular room key, but it had red stains on the back of it. Looking out at the window, I saw the slenderish dude, waiting right out in the parking lot. I could get a better look at its facial features, but there were none. I was getting more creeped out, so I decided to look for my room. As I passed by the breakfast area, I saw a CD on the table. Written on the front of it in Sharpie was Knuckles.exe. I didn't even bother with the DVD, but instead kept moving. The hotel was rather small. There were only 2 floors. The main floor had the lobby and all the bedrooms and stuff, while the top floor was dark, unsafe. Deadly maintenance was up there, with a keep out sign on the front. I decided I would look in there later. As I walked down the hallway, I peered into each room. Each door had a small window on it. In one room, I saw a gray cartoon character sitting on a bed, crying silently. In another room, I saw nothing but red. Finally, I got to room 13. Inside, I was surprised to see the living conditions were fairly comfortable. There was a king-sized bed, a large HD TV, and a mini bathroom with a shower. I unpacked all of my stuff and locked the privacy lock. Then I sat down on the sofa. Perhaps some television would calm my nerves. The hotel only received 3 channels. The first was static, and the other 2 were channel 17 and channel 21. Both were weird. On channel 21, there was some poorly filmed kids show called Mr. Bear's Cellar, and on channel 17, there was a show called Candle Cove. Neither showed particular interest to me. Something seemed quite off by the both of them. After about 5 minutes, I heard a knock at the door, and a kid's voice saying, "Sir, Could you let me in? I don't know where my parents are. I peered out the window and saw the kid's eyes were completely black. It was very creepy, so I decided to take out my gun and shot him in the face. After that, I decided to go to bed. It wasn't very late, but I was bored. I started to fall asleep, but then I was reawakened by another knock on the door. Angrily, I got up and walked to the door. Directly outside was a man with a white face and a knife. He had dark, sunken eyes, long matted hair, and a large red smile. The knife he had was really sharp. "Are you having sleep troubles?" He cackled outside my door. I rolled my eyes and muttered, "I would if you wouldn't interrupt my sleep." I took out my gun and blew his brains out. 5 seconds later, a duplicate of that weird-looking person appeared at the door. This one was exactly the same in every way, and even the knife was the same as well. I shot him in the brains again. And after that, the same thing happened. This time, 5 more appeared. "Why are there so many of you?" I screamed. "We are Jeff the Killer's clones across the internet," said one of them. All the Jeffs began to try to break down the door. I backed up and held my gun tightly. There are many ways the story might end. Here are 3. The happy with a twist ending. I pulled the trigger on the gun, squeezing several shots. Then I turned around, went out the window next to my bed, ran to my car, put the keys in the ignition, then drive off as fast as I could. When suddenly I realized something isn't right. I had left my suitcase inside the hotel. The stereotypical ending. I pulled the trigger on the pistol, squeezing out several shots, and then I felt lightheaded and passed out. Later, I awoke in a hospital room with a nurse saying the patient has finally woken. I just then could realize that he had given me certain pills. He must have been a doctor. I could tell by the way he spoke. Also, his name tag said he was an MD. Why was I in a hospital? What about that creepy hotel? Maybe I'd been dreaming the whole hotel stuff up. The doctor and nurse left and looked out my bedside table. There was a get well soon picture on it. A picture of a man with a bleached white face. A large smile scrawled on top of it, saying, "Go to sleep." And here we have the final ending. The "were you even trying?" I pulled the trigger, squeezing out several shots. All of them hit the Jeffs. Within 3 seconds, the fight was over. Yay! I'm so glad I didn't have to work that hard to write these endings, said the author. I love octopuses. Well, now what am I going to do? Wondered the time-traveling dad. Here I have an all-expense paid trip to Tibet with our one friend, said the author, and the time-traveling dad noticed that he was stepping on 2 plane tickets. But hold on, said the time-traveling dad. You never explained why I'm called the time-traveling dad. The story had literally nothing to do with me time-traveling. So, said the author, maybe I want a little misleading title, but I'll leave it to the reader's imagination. Hold on a second, said the time-traveling dad. I haven't got the time here, explained the author. You see, I'm going to write a story that will be super awesome. It will be called Jeff the Killer versus Candlejack. That is ridiculous, said the time traveler.